let's talk about phobias. So surprisingly, phobias are one of the easiest things to clear using the negative emotion destroyer tracks. And typically people think, oh my gosh, there's no way. I've been afraid of this for years, and this has really driven my entire life, and I've lived my whole life avoiding this thing. How could I possibly feel okay about that? And weirdly enough, it's one of the things that tends to clear most easily using these tools. So let's dive into how you would use the negative emotion destroyer tracks on phobias. So ideally, you would have already watched my other introductory videos on how to use the destroyer tracks in general. So I would recommend going back and reviewing those first before this video. Now, with phobias, basically, you would pull up the fear. You would imagine the thing happening, or whatever level of it you can face at this time, whatever starts to bring that feeling up, whatever starts to create that intense reaction in you. So it may be difficult to bring it up to, to face it to, a super heightened level. Whatever level you can face at this time, whatever you can imagine happening related to that phobia, picture that. You may even want to pull up photos. If it's a fear of spiders, pull up photos. If it's a fear of heights, you could pull up a movie. There's a great movie called The Walk with Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it that is fantastic to bring up that fear of heights. Great movie. So you basically just want to do whatever it takes to bring up that reaction as though that phobia is kind of in front of you. And then you start to think about past events that were similar if you have anything that's connected to it. So if not, that's fine. But typically, most of us will have something from the past. Like if you have a fear of flying, a lot of times there is a fear. It's based on negative experiences with flying, or knowing somebody, or seeing a plane crash in a movie early on in your life, or anything. So it's whatever in your history makes you afraid of that, if that's accessible to you. It's okay if not, but it is a little bit easier and more effective. So let me give you an example. So I had a client who was afraid of storms, and she was petrified, like wanted to hide under stuff and just like freezing up, could not function when a storm was on its way. While it was happening, it was devastating and horribly frightening to her. And so we did a round of the destroyer track on that fear of storms. And what really helped was that she knew that there were moments when her father had been petrified of storms. So when she was 5 or 6, she has this memory of her dad like running around, battening down the hatches, like, and putting up shutters and just freaking out and preparing the house and running around in a fright about this storm that was coming. And also there was a moment where a tree fell on the family car during the storm. So there had been a bunch of things that kind of led to that fear. And of course, like when you're 5 or 6 and your dad is afraid of something to that level, then, I think you get the message, oh, I damn well better be afraid of that myself. So you basically would include those. And so that's what we did when she was feeling her fear of storms and picturing a storm happening and feeling how she felt about that. She also acknowledged the tree falling on the car. She acknowledged how it felt when Daddy was running around freaking out about a storm coming and all of his preparations and everything like that. So I believe we did 1 or 2 rounds on that. So she came out of that and was like, okay, well, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about a storm happening and I'm not really feeling anything, but I know as soon as the next storm is coming, I'm going to flip out, which is a normal reaction and the next thing that comes up for just about everybody with a phobia. So then you do it on the fear that the fear is going to come back when the situation presents itself. So if it's a fear of flying and you remove your fear of flying, you also probably need to remove the fear that as soon as you get on an airplane, that fear is going to come back. Or if it's a fear of storms, that as soon as the storm is reported on its way, then you're going to be freaking out. So you freak out about that. You just go, oh, I'm never going to be able to get rid of this. That fear is always going to come back. Even though I feel safe in my living room right now thinking about it, I just know when that situation comes back, it's going to trigger me all over again. And, the same thing with panic attacks, actually. Most people they go into a phobia of having another panic attack. And so you can deal with your fear of the panic attacks and everything, but also just making sure that you work on whatever meta fears you have around that. Like, what if I never get rid of my panic attacks? What if this other thing, like, okay, I feel safe around this now. What if these other things then create panic attacks for me? So paying attention to not only the primary fear, but also doing a round of the fear returning. So that is the best way to deal with phobias. And I hope you have so much success with these tools. They're really incredible. So enjoy.